Hello, bedtime thinkers, and welcome to the Bedtime Discoveries, a place where curiosity meets calmness and where science gently guides you toward rest. I'm so glad you're here tonight. This evening, let us drift into the mystery of silence and explore why the universe is so very quiet. When we look at the night sky filled with stars and galaxies, it may feel like a grand orchestra waiting to play, but instead we find a deep and endless hush before we begin our slow journey. Tell me in the comments where you are listening from and what time it is right now for you. I always enjoy knowing how far and wide these gentle discoveries travel. And if you find comfort here tonight, please consider pressing the like button and gently subscribing to the Bedtime Discoveries so you never miss another sleepy exploration. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine yourself standing beneath a clear night sky. The stars above are scattered like tiny lanterns across an endless canvas. Even though they sparkle so close to each other in your view, in truth, they are separated by distances so vast that our minds can barely begin to grasp them. When we speak of space, we are speaking of a scale beyond imagination. Here on Earth, we measure distance in steps, in meters, in miles. We think of a journey as something we can walk, or drive, or fly. But in the universe, distances stretch so far that even the fastest spacecraft built by humans would take tens of thousands of years just to reach the nearest star. The universe is immense beyond measure. The nearest star to our sun, called Proxima Centauri, shines faintly in the southern skies. It is just one star among billions, and yet it is the closest neighbor to our sun. Even at that closeness, it lies more than 4 light years away. 1 light year is the distance light travels in an entire year, moving at a speed of almost 300,000 kilometers per second. And Proxima Centauri is more than 4 times that distance. So even though it is our neighbor, it is a neighbor across an unimaginable gulf. When you gaze upward, what you see is not just beauty. It is history stretched across time. Some of the starlight reaching your eyes tonight left its home before humans even walked the earth. Some of the galaxies visible to our telescopes sent their light billions of years ago, when the universe itself was still young. To look into the night sky is to look into the past, and that past feels both breathtaking and humbling. You see, the vastness of space isn't just about distances, it is about perspective. It reminds us of how small our planet is, how fragile and how rare. A tiny blue adrift in a sea of blackness, and yet distant is home, the only place we know where sound fills the air, where laughter, music, and voices rise into the atmosphere. Beyond Earth, the universe holds its silence, and the immensity of space is what keeps that silence so complete. Take a slow breath and picture yourself floating outward, drifting away from the Earth, first past the moon, then beyond the orbit of Mars, out past Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, until even our solar system is behind you. You glance back, and Earth is now no bigger than a tiny star itself. Every mountain, every ocean, every city, all condensed into that fragile spark. This is the vastness of space, an ocean so deep that even light, the fastest travel we know, takes ages to cross it. For most of human history, we had no sense of just how large a universe really was. Early civilizations thought the stars were lamps hung in a dome overhead. The sky was a ceiling, and the earth was the center of all things. It was a view both comforting and limited. But then we began to measure. We watched the way planets drifted slowly among the stars. We noticed the moon moving across the sky. We charted the sun's path with careful eyes. Step by step, we began to realize the heavens were not a simple dome, but a grand expanse stretching outward. In the 20th century, something extraordinary happened. Astronomers like Edwin Hubble pointed their telescopes deep into the night and discovered that the fuzzy patches of light we saw were not stars at all, but entire galaxies. Each galaxy contained billions of stars, each star potentially with its own family of planets. And those galaxies were moving away from us, revealing that the universe itself was expanding. With that discovery, the scale of space grew in our minds. What we once thought of as a universe filled with stars became a universe filled with galaxies. And soon, the numbers became staggering. Not thousands, not millions, but billions upon billions. The Hubble Space Telescope showed us a single patch of sky, no bigger than a grain of sand held at arm's length. And within that patch were thousands of galaxies. Each galaxy a city of stars. Each star perhaps with planets. Each planet perhaps with stories unknown. The vastness of space is not just distance. It is abundance. It is the unimaginable richness of creation. And yet, that abundance is scattered across distances so great that one galaxy may never know another. Their light may pass each other, but their voices remain silent. Even here, close to home, we feel that distance. Our spacecraft, Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, have traveled farther than any human-made object before. For more than 40 years, they have been sailing outward, away from the sun, and yet they are still within our tiny corner of the galaxy. They have not reached another star. They are simply wanderers, carrying whispers of Earth into the cosmic ocean. If they were to ever reach another civilization, it would take tens of thousands of years. This is the vastness of space, a reminder that even our greatest efforts are but gentle ripples in an endless sea. Let us drift deeper, beyond what we can see with the naked eye. Astronomers speak of the observable universe, the portion we can detect, thanks to the light that has had time to reach us. It stretches about 93 billion light years across. And beyond that, we do not know. There may be more, endlessly more, or there may be boundaries beyond which even light cannot cross. The observable universe is like a bubble, and we here on Earth are at its center, not because we are special, but because light has had time to reach us equally in all directions. Each observer in the universe would find themselves in the center of their own bubble of observation. It is a humbling thought. We are surrounded by horizons, boundaries made not of matter, but of time. And yet, despite this immensity, we continue to ask questions. We send telescopes to orbit our planet. We listen for faint signals. We map the shapes of galaxies, as if trying to read the handwriting of the cosmos. Sometimes, when we speak of vastness, it can feel cold, distant, but there is also comfort in it, because within this vastness, there is still beauty. The swirl of a galaxy, the glow of a nebula, the steady rhythm of stars being born and dying, each event so far away, and yet so connected to the atoms within us, the iron in our blood, the calcium in our bones, the oxygen we breathe, all were forged in stars long ago and carried across the vastness of space to find their way into us. So while the universe may be immense, We are not separate from it. We are part of it, made of it, a small spark of awareness within a great ocean of silence. When we lie beneath the stars at night, we may feel tiny, but we are also connected to distances beyond comprehension, connected to galaxies whose light still journeys toward us, connected to the vastness itself. So as you rest tonight, let the immensity of the universe cradle you. Let it remind you that though the distances are endless, you are not lost in them. You belong. You are a piece of this vastness, a quiet note in the symphony of existence. When we speak of sound, we often think of voices, of music, of the whispering wind, but beneath those experiences, sound is something very simple. It is vibration. Every sound you hear begins with a movement. A plucked string trembles. A vocal cord in the throat shivers with air. A drum skin ripples when struck. That movement causes the particles around it to bump into one another, air molecules nudging their neighbors, like ripples spreading across a pond. Those ripples are sound waves. They travel outward, carrying energy, but not matter, just as the wave on the ocean moves across the surface, though the water itself remains in place. The sound of my voice, the laughter of a child, the roll of thunder, all are simply patterns of compression and expansion, particles moving back and forth, passing along the message of vibration. But sound is limited by its need. It cannot exist without a medium. It needs air or water or a solid surface, something to carry those tiny pushes and pulls. Remove the medium and sound disappears. This is why space, with its near emptiness, is silent. The particles are so few, so far apart, that vibrations cannot pass. Even the most powerful explosion in the vacuum of space would be utterly noiseless to human ears. A star could collapse into a black hole. A planet could shatter into fragments. And if you were floating nearby without instruments, you would hear nothing at all. Here on Earth, we take sound for granted. The chirping of birds at dawn, the buzzing of insects in summer fields, the steady rustling of leaves when the wind arrives. Our world is drenched in sound, but that is because we live inside an ocean of air. Every vibration finds a pathway. Every motion finds a listener. The nature of sound is both fragile and powerful. Fragile, because without air or matter, it vanishes. Powerful, because with a medium, it can travel vast distances. A whale's call can carry for hundreds of miles beneath the sea. A volcanic eruption can be heard thousands of miles from its source. And yet, without something to hold it, sound is lost. It is humbling, isn't it? The music of the universe is not a symphony of sound, but of light, of radiation, of forces we cannot hear. Sound is a gift of certain environments, a delicate phenomenon, existing only where conditions allow. So when you listen tonight to the hum of your room, to the breath in your lungs, to the subtle rhythm of life around you, you are listening to something rare, something that exists only in special corners of the cosmos. Let us sink a little deeper now into the gentle science of sound itself. Sound waves are a type of mechanical wave. They move energy, not matter, and they come in two main forms, compressions and rarefactions. Imagine a slinky toy stretched out on the floor. If you push one end forward, the coils bunch together and then spread apart again. That movement, traveling along the slinky, is just like a sound wave moving through air. Air molecules gather close together, then spread apart, forming a pattern of pressure that travels forward. Our ears are marvelous instruments. finely tuned to catch these pressure waves. The outer ear funnels vibrations inward. The eardrum trembles in response. And tiny bones, the smallest in the body, magnify those movements and pass them to the inner ear. There, within the curled spiral of the cochlea, thousands of delicate hair cells sway in liquid, each tuned to respond to a certain frequency. And as they bend, they send electrical signals to the brain, where vibration becomes sound, and sound becomes meaning. What is extraordinary is that everything you hear is relative. The same vibration that feels like music to you might be inaudible to another creature. Humans hear roughly between 20 hertz and 20,000 hertz, but a bat can hear well beyond 100,000 hertz. And an elephant can detect infrasound, deep vibrations lower than we can imagine. So the nature of sound is not fixed. It depends on who is listening. It depends on the ear, the brain, the sensitivity. The universe is filled with vibrations at every scale, but only some of them reach us as sound. Consider thunder. The lightning bolt splits the sky with such force that the air around it expands explosively, sending a shockwave outward. Our ears register this as thunder, but the wave itself is simply air being disturbed. Or think of music. A violin string, pulled and released, vibrates dozens, hundreds, even thousands of times per second. Those vibrations mix, harmonize, and blend until our brains recognize them as melody. But beneath the art lies physics, just patterns of air dancing from one molecule to the next. The more we understand the science, the more magical sound becomes, because we realize how fleeting it is, how dependent on air, on motion, on perception. It exists only when conditions align. It is born, travels, and fades, all in an instant. Now, imagine carrying this knowledge into the universe. What becomes of sound when there is no air? Astronauts in orbit know this silence well. Inside their spacecraft, voices, fans, and machines hum. But outside there is nothing. If two astronauts struck metal together in the vacuum, no sound would pass between them. They would see it, feel it perhaps through their gloves, but their ears would detect nothing. This is the fragile truth of sound. It belongs to planets with atmospheres, to seas with liquid, to worlds where particles are close enough to pass along the ripples. On Mars, sound does exist, but it is thinner, weaker, slower, because the atmosphere is so sparse. A voice would sound muffled, lower in pitch, and would not carry far. On Jupiter or Venus, with thick atmospheres, sound might be heavy, booming, distorted, but in the vast stretches between planets, sound ceases altogether. This is why the universe seems silent. It is not that events do not happen. Stars erupt, galaxies collide, black holes consume. But they do so without the music we might expect, without air or matter to carry their voices. They become silent fireworks, brilliant to the eyes, but inaudible to the ears. And yet, there is a deeper poetry here. For while the cosmos is quiet to our ears, it hums with vibrations of another kind. Electromagnetic waves, radiation, light itself, travel across the void, carrying news of the stars to us. We translate these signals into images, into data, into understanding. But left in their raw state, they remain silent. This fragile truth of sound makes Earth feel all the more precious. Here, every breeze, every songbird, every word is part of a rare symphony. Elsewhere, such symphonies do not exist. The nature of sound is a local miracle, a a reminder that silence, not sound, is the natural language of the universe. So as you listen to my voice now, remember how delicate it is. Just waves of air passing through space, caught by your ears, turned into meaning by your brain. It is temporary, fleeting, and beautiful, a soft thread in the vast quiet of existence. Close your eyes and imagine yourself stepping out of Earth's atmosphere. Here on our planet, the air carries sound everywhere, waves of laughter, music, and wind. But the moment you rise above the protective blanket of air, something strange begins to happen. The sounds fade, the rumble of engines becomes a faint vibration, and once you reach the vacuum of space, there's only silence. The silence of space is not like the quiet of a library, nor the soft hush of a sleeping forest. It is a silence so deep, so absolute, that it feels almost otherworldly. On Earth, even in the stillest moments, there are layers of sound, the distant rustle of leaves, the quiet hum of electricity in the walls, the steady rhythm of your own breathing. But in space, none of this exists. Without air, without particles, vibrations cannot travel. The result is a silence that is both comforting and unsettling. Astronauts describe this silence as profound. Inside their spacecraft, they hear the soft buzzing of machinery, the faint voices of colleagues. But outside the capsule walls, an eternal stillness waits. If two pieces of metal collide in orbit, the shock cannot be heard. If a star flares with unimaginable violence, no sound follows. All remains quiet. This silence shapes the way we experience the cosmos. When we look at the night sky, we see beauty, but we do not hear it. The stars do not sing to our ears. The galaxies do not hum their distance. The universe, at its grandest scale, is silent, and yet silence itself is not empty. It carries a weight, a presence. The silence of the cosmos is filled with mystery. It reminds us that the rules of Earth do not always apply beyond its borders. Here, sound is woven into daily life. There it vanishes, replaced by light, by radiation, by forces we cannot hear. This silence is what makes space feel so immense, so unreachable, because when there is no sound, there is no echo, no reply, no comfort. Only the endless stretch of quiet. Silence is not only a physical truth of the universe. It is also something that shapes our inner world. Think of the last time you stood in a very quiet place, perhaps in a forest, just before dawn, or in a snow-covered field, where every sound is softened. At first, the silence feels soothing, but as you linger in it, you may begin to notice your own heartbeat, the faint ringing in your ears, the sound of your own thoughts. Silence has a way of magnifying the self. And cosmic silence, imagine on a universal scale, brings this magnification to its highest degree. When we think about the universe being quiet, it is not only a scientific truth, but also an emotional experience. It can make us feel small, as if we are speaking into a vast emptiness. We send signals, we listen with great machines, and yet there is no reply. The silence lingers. This has puzzled scientists and philosophers for centuries. Why, in a universe so large, do we hear nothing? Where are the voices of others? Where are the echoes of civilizations? The silence becomes not just a fact, but a question. For some, this cosmic silence feels lonely. For others, it feels sacred. It reminds us of peace, of stillness, of the quiet spaces within our own minds. Just as meditation allows us to listen inward, the The silence of the universe invites us to reflect outward. And in this way, the silence of the cosmos is not frightening, but gentle, a reminder that in stillness there is also meaning. In quiet, there is also connection. Sometimes the loudest truths are spoken without words. Let us wander for a moment into stories of the cosmos and see how silence shapes them. Imagine a supernova, a star at the end of its life, exploding with unimaginable power. It releases more energy in seconds than our sun will release in its entire lifetime. The explosion tears the star apart, sending shockwaves across space. And yet, if you stood nearby in the vacuum, you would hear nothing, not a single sound. The event would be silent, like fireworks with their sound removed, or picture galaxies colliding. Over billions of years, two great spirals of stars drift together, their arms twisting, their stars scattering. An event so vast, so dramatic, that it reshapes the structure of entire galaxies. But again, there is no sound, no crashing, no roaring, only the quiet ballet of light and motion. Even black holes, those mysterious giants, do not roar as they consume. They stretch and twist space itself. They release radiation and jets of energy, but the act itself is noiseless. To our ears, they remain forever silent. The universe tells its stories not through sound, but through light, through energy, through mathematics. And we, with our instruments, translate those signals, turning them into images, into data, into understanding. The sounds we sometimes hear in documentaries, the eerie hums and whooshes of space, are not actual recordings of sound, but translations, vibrations of light or plasma, shifted into frequencies we can hear, beautiful illusions, helping us sense what would otherwise remain forever silent. So why is the universe so quiet? Because silence is its natural state. Sound is rare, fragile, temporary. But silence is the rule. And perhaps there is comfort in this. For silence gives us space to wonder. It gives us room to imagine. In its quiet, we find our questions. And in our questions, we find discovery. Though the universe may appear silent to our ears, it is not without messages. In fact, the cosmos is filled with a constant hum, not of sound, but of something more subtle, invisible waves of light, and long, stretched out ripples we call radio waves. When you step outside at night and look up at the stars, your eyes gather visible light. It is only one narrow band of a vast spectrum. The rainbow of colors we see, from deep red to violet blue, represents a tiny slice of what truly exists. Beyond red, there are infrared waves, longer, slower, carrying warmth. Beyond violet, there are ultraviolet rays, invisible, energetic, sometimes harmful. Stretch further, and you reach X-rays and gamma rays, powerful, penetrating, born from the universe's most violent events. But on the other side, stretching out longer and gentler, lie the radio waves. Waves so wide they can span mountains, even planets. Waves that carry across unimaginable distances, without tiring. The universe speaks in this language. Stars send out waves of light in every direction, some gentle, some fierce. Galaxies, too, glow in radio frequencies, their centers blazing with energy. Even the quiet background between galaxies carries a faint radio whisper, a remnant of the birth of the universe itself. Though our ears cannot hear these waves, our instruments can. A radio telescope, with its wide dish, collects these stretched-out ripples of energy. It listens not for sound, but for the silent patterns of light, translated into frequencies we can study. And in these signals we find stories. Stories of stars being born, of clouds of gas collapsing into new suns, of distant galaxies colliding. The silence of space is not empty after all. It is filled with light, with energy, with radio waves, waiting patiently to be heard by those who know how to listen. Let us drift now to the ways humans have learned to listen. In 1932, a man named Carl Jansky, an engineer at Bell Telephone Laboratories, was studying static on long-distance radio signals. He built a large rotating antenna, and one day he noticed a strange hiss, a steady signal, unlike anything else. After months of careful work, he realized the hiss was coming from the center of our galaxy. It was the birth of radio astronomy, the discovery that the universe speaks in radio waves. Since then, vast telescopes have been built, not with glass lenses like ordinary telescopes, but with great dishes of metal. Some are as large as football fields, sweeping the skies, listening for whispers. The Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico, once the largest in the world, listened for signals from pulsars, mapped the surfaces of planets, and even joined in the search for extraterrestrial life. Through radio waves, we discovered pulsars, rapidly spinning stars, sending out beams like lighthouses in the dark. We mapped the faint glow of the cosmic microwave background, the after-echo of the Big Bang itself. This glow fills every direction, a reminder that the universe was once young, hot, and bright, and with radio waves, we continue to search for signs that someone else, somewhere, might be sending messages too. Our ears cannot detect these signals, but when translated, they sometimes become eerie tones, rhythmic pulses, or steady hums, not true sounds of space, but transformations, helping our human senses touch what they otherwise could not. It is humbling, isn't it, that while the universe is quiet to us, it is never truly silent. We are simply deaf to most of its voices until we build tools to hear. Beyond radio waves, there is light itself. The stars above you tonight shine across unimaginable distances. Each photon of light travels straight and true, crossing the void for thousands, even millions of years, until it touches your eyes. When you gaze at the stars, you are catching ancient travelers, messengers that began their journey long before you were born. Light carries information in its colors. A star that glows red may be cooler, older. A star that shines blue may be hotter, younger, more intense. By studying the spectrum of light, scientists can learn what elements are burning inside a star, how fast it is moving, and even whether it has planets circling around it. All of this from a beam of light. Galaxies, too, reveal their secrets in light. Some glow with soft spirals of starlight, others with fierce jets, streaming from black holes at their centers. Even the faintest smudges on a telescope image turn out to be entire galaxies, their light stretched thin by distance and time. And then there's the most ancient light of all, the cosmic microwave background. It is faint, almost invisible, but it fills the universe evenly. It is the leftover glow of the Big Bang, the first light ever released. When we detect it, we are hearing the after-echo of creation itself. So while the universe is quiet in sound, it is rich in light, a constant stream of messages, a silent conversation carried on for billions of years. We here on Earth are learning slowly to read it, to translate the brightness, the wavelengths, the pulses, into stories of origin and destiny. And perhaps one day we may find within these lights and waves not just the voice of stars, but the voice of intelligence, a message sent across the gulf of time, waiting patiently for us to listen. Until then, the silence of the universe is not emptiness. It is filled with hidden voices, speaking in languages our ears cannot hear, but our minds are beginning to understand. Our ears, delicate and small, are tuned to a very narrow band of sound, from the low rumble of a deep drum to the high chirp of a bird at dawn. Our hearing spans only a modest range. It is enough for us to speak, to share stories, to listen to music, and to survive in the natural world. But compared to the universe, our hearing is almost nothing. We cannot hear the slow waves of radio signals, nor the high vibrations of light. We are locked into a tiny window, a fragile sliver of sound. Imagine sitting at the shore of an ocean and being able to sense only a single ripple, while the vast waves, the great tides, and the deep currents remain hidden. That is our position in the cosmos. We are aware of so little, and the rest flows quietly past us. Even here on Earth, many creatures hear more than we do. Dogs hear higher frequencies. Dolphins and whales communicate in ranges that stretch far beyond ours. Bats send out ultrasonic calls, mapping the night with invisible echoes. Elephants rumble in infrasound, so low it shakes the ground, carrying messages across miles. We, by contrast, are fragile listeners. Our ears hear enough for our world, but not enough for the cosmos. The stars do not sing in a range we can detect. The galaxies do not hum in a tone we can perceive. To us, they are silent, but perhaps they are simply whispering in languages our ears cannot know. And so we build tools, great dishes to catch radio waves, sensitive detectors to sense infrared warmth, satellites to record gamma ray bursts. All of these are extensions of our ears. They help us listen where nature made us deaf. They let us hear the universe in ways we were never meant to. Listening to the universe is not easy. Our fragile instruments, though powerful, are still limited. The signals we seek are faint, so faint they are easily drowned out by the noise of our own world. A cell phone tower can overwhelm, a distant cosmic signal. A satellite in orbit can blur the whispers of a star. Even lightning storms, crackling across the sky, can confuse our listening. The earth itself is loud, not in the way of voices, but in the chatter of electronics and the natural pulse of storms. To protect our fragile listening, some observatories are built in quiet places, radio quiet zones, where cell towers are banned, where electronics are limited, so that the ears of the telescope can focus on the faintest cosmic whispers. Even then, we face the challenge of distance. The farther away a signal, the weaker it becomes. A message sent from a distant galaxy would fade almost completely by the time it reached us. The light of stars diminishes. The radio waves scatter. The universe itself stretches the signals as it expands, and yet we continue to listen, patiently, carefully, gathering fragments, piecing together patterns. It is like trying to hear a pin drop in a thunderstorm, but with time, we learn to filter out the noise, to amplify the faint, to discover meaning in the quiet. Our fragile listening has already revealed wonders the hum of the cosmic microwave background, the pulses of neutron stars, the swirling dance of galaxies. All of these were hidden until our fragile instruments grew sensitive enough to catch them. And so, though our hearing is small, our determination makes it large. Our fragile listening becomes strong when paired with patience and wonder. There is something humbling about knowing how fragile our listening is. We are one species, on one small planet, orbiting an ordinary star. Our ears are tuned to our own world, yet we dare to listen to the universe itself. In the silence of the night sky, we point our instruments outward. We search for voices that may never come. And still we listen, because listening is an act of hope. It is a sign that we believe there might be something to hear. Sometimes, when scientists talk of listening to the cosmos, it is compared to sitting in a dark forest. We are quiet, listening for footsteps, listening for the crack of a twig, the rustle of a leaf. The forest may remain silent, but still we listen, because silence, too, tells us something. The silence tells us that stars do not shout their existence, that galaxies do not cry out, that the universe is vast, and that intelligence, if it exists elsewhere, is rare or shy or very far away. And so, our fragile listening continues. We build larger telescopes. We stretch our hearing further. We dream of the day when, perhaps, a faint signal will rise above the noise, a deliberate message from someone else who is listening too. Until then, the quiet remains. Our fragile listening, straining against the silence, is both a limitation and a gift, because in the quiet, we learn to appreciate the stillness. We learn to wonder. We learn patience. And perhaps that is the deeper truth, that the silence of the universe is not empty, but a reminder of how small we are and how miraculous it is that we can listen at all. When we look up at the night sky, we see thousands of stars. And we know from science that there are billions upon billions more, galaxies stretching across the cosmos, each holding countless suns. And yet, in all this immensity, we hear nothing, no voice, no signal, only silence. This quiet has a name, the Great Silence Paradox, or more famously, the Fermi Paradox. In 1950, physicist Enrico Fermi was having a casual lunch conversation with colleagues. They were discussing extraterrestrial life, the vastness of the universe, and the possibility that intelligent beings might exist elsewhere. Suddenly, Fermi asked a simple question: where is everybody? It was a question both innocent and profound. If the universe is so large, if stars are so numerous, if planets are so common, then surely life must have appeared many times. And if intelligence has risen elsewhere, some civilizations must be older than ours, with technology more advanced. They could have spread across the galaxy by now. They could have left signals, traces, or even visited. And yet, we see no evidence. We hear no voices, only silence. This is the heart of the paradox. The universe seems filled with possibilities, but the evidence remains absent. It is like walking into a vast library and finding all the shelves empty. You know the books should be there, but they are not. This silence stirs something deep inside us: wonder, curiosity, and perhaps a little loneliness. Because if we are alone, than all the stars above, shine only for us. Scientists and dreamers alike have tried to solve this paradox. Why is the universe so quiet? Why do we not hear the voices of others? One answer is distance. The galaxy is vast, 100,000 light years across. Even at the speed of light, a message could take millennia to arrive. Perhaps the voices are speaking, but their words have not yet reached us. Another answer is fragility. Civilizations may rise and fall, just as great empires on Earth have flourished and disappeared. So too might civilizations among the stars. They may shine brightly for a time, and then fade away before their signals cross the gulf to us. It may also be that life is rare, that while planets are common, the spark of biology is difficult, or that intelligence, the kind that builds technology, is even rarer still. Perhaps we are among the very few who have ever reached this point. Some suggest the voices may be deliberate, choosing to remain silent. Advanced civilizations might avoid broadcasting for fear of attracting danger. In the dark forests of the universe, silence may be survival. Others imagine that the signals are there, but we do not yet recognize them. Perhaps they do not speak in radio waves. Perhaps they communicate in ways beyond our science, beyond our senses, like trying to hear a conversation. Through a wall of glass, the voices exist, but the method of listening is wrong. And there is one more possibility. Perhaps we truly are alone, the only spark of intelligence, in a vast, indifferent universe, a lonely flame, in the endless night. Each of these answers carries weight. Each offers a path of wonder and sometimes unease, but all of them remind us that the great silence is not simple. It is a puzzle without a solution, at least for now. While the great silence can feel unsettling, it also holds a quiet beauty. Imagine that the universe is waiting, silent and still, for us to discover it. Like an ancient book unopened, its pages filled with secrets. The silence means that our discoveries are our own. Every galaxy we map, every signal we capture, every story we uncover in the stars belongs first to us. It also means that Earth is precious, that life here is rare, perhaps even unique, in the silence of the universe. Our world is a garden of voices, buzzing with insects, singing with birds, resonating with human laughter and speech. Compared to the stillness outside, Earth is loud, vibrant, alive, and perhaps the silence is exactly what makes the universe so mysterious, so inviting. It draws us forward, encourages us to listen harder, to build greater instruments, to dream of journeys among the stars. In its own way, the great silence is not emptiness, but invitation, an open door, waiting for the first footsteps, the first voices, the first greetings. Until then, the paradox remains. We search, we listen, we wonder, and the quiet universe watches patiently as we continue our fragile quest to understand it. As we sit beneath the night sky and feel the quiet pressing in, our minds naturally ask, why? Why is the universe so quiet when there are so many stars, so many planets, so many chances for life? One possible explanation is known as the rare earth hypothesis. It suggests that while simple life may be common, complex, intelligent life may be exceedingly rare. Think of Earth itself. Our planet holds a delicate balance of conditions that make our existence possible. We orbit at just the right distance from the sun, not too hot, not too cold. We have a large moon, which stabilizes our planet's tilt, bringing regular seasons. We have a magnetic field, shielding us from harmful solar radiation. And we have plate tectonics, recycling nutrients, keeping our world alive over billions of years. Each of these conditions may be unusual. Perhaps they come together only rarely. In the vastness of space, it may be that Earth is a special oasis, a rare jewel in a desert of barren worlds. If this is true, then silence is not surprising, because intelligence like ours would emerge only rarely, perhaps only once, and we here on Earth would be that rarity. It is a humbling thought that among all the stars, we may be unique, and yet it also deepens a sense of wonder, because if life is so fragile, so unlikely, then every breath, every moment, every story we live is infinitely precious. Another explanation is called the Great Filter. It suggests that somewhere along the path, from dust and molecules to intelligent beings, capable of building technology, there are barriers, great hurdles that life must overcome. Most never succeed. Perhaps the filter is at the beginning. Perhaps the spark of life itself is so improbable that it almost never happens. If that is true, then our existence is a miracle, a rare accident in the universe. Or perhaps the filter lies later. Perhaps simple life is common, but intelligence is hard. Evolution may produce countless bacteria, countless plants, even animals, but the leap to minds capable of science, of art, of reaching for the stars, is nearly impossible. There is another possibility, more unsettling, that the filter lies ahead of us, that civilizations often rise, develop technology, and then fall, destroyed by their own creations, by war, by neglect of their environment, or by cosmic disasters. If that is the case, then the silence of the universe is a warning, a reminder that survival is fragile, that we must tread carefully if we wish to avoid the same fate. The great filter idea makes the silence meaningful. It tells us that the quiet is not empty, but a clue, a message written in absence. Perhaps it says, life is rare. Or perhaps it says, beware. Either way, it deepens a mystery and invites us to reflect on our place, our choices, and our future. Not all explanations are scientific. Some are more imaginative, and yet they bring comfort or perhaps curiosity. One such idea is called the zoo hypothesis. It suggests that advanced civilizations exist, but they are deliberately silent. They know of us, but they choose not to interfere. Like zookeepers, they watch from a distance, allowing us to grow, to develop, without disturbance. Perhaps they wait until we are ready, until humanity reaches a certain maturity, a certain wisdom. Then they may reveal themselves. Until then, the silence remains. Another idea is even gentler. Perhaps civilizations are like candles in the night, scattered, flickering, far apart, each too distant to see the others clearly. The silence is not intentional. It is simply the result of distance, time, and fragility. There is also the possibility that civilizations speak, but in languages we cannot yet hear. Perhaps they communicate through neutrinos, through gravitational waves, or by methods beyond our science. The silence, then, is only our deafness, not their absence. Each of these possibilities brings a different flavor to the silence of the universe. Rare Earth, the Great Filter, the Zoo Hypothesis, and others, none are proven, but together they weave a tapestry of wonder. They remind us that the quiet above us is not simple. It is layered, mysterious, full of meaning. And so, as we listen to the silence, we also listen to ourselves. We hear our own hopes, our own fears, our own dreams reflected back. The silence of the stars is also the silence of our questions. And in those questions, we find both mystery and beauty. Though we often describe the universe as quiet, it is not truly silent. Our ears may hear nothing, but our instruments reveal a constant background of noise. Imagine standing in a forest at night. To your ears, it may seem peaceful, but listen closely, and you will notice the whisper of wind in the leaves, the distant call of an owl, the rustle of unseen creatures moving softly. The silence, in truth, is filled with subtle sounds. So it is with the universe. The cosmos hums with activity, not in audible tones, but in the language of energy and waves. Radio waves, X-rays, gravitational ripples, and faint cosmic rays fill the vastness between stars. One of the most remarkable discoveries was the cosmic microwave background radiation, a faint, steady glow left over from the birth of the universe itself. When astronomers detected it, they realized they were listening to the after-echo of creation. A faint hiss spread evenly across the sky, carrying the memory of the Big Bang. And beyond this background, there are other cosmic noises. Stars that pulse and flicker, neutron stars that spin and beam, black holes that growl as they consume matter. Each is a kind of music, though hidden from ordinary ears. The universe, then, is more like an orchestra playing softly on instruments we are just learning to recognize. To us, it feels like silence, but with patience and the right tools, we begin to hear the cosmic song. Stars are not silent beings. They tremble, they oscillate, they send out waves through their hot plasma. These vibrations can be translated into sound, deep resonant hums, like the tolling of immense cosmic bells. Astronomers study these starquakes to learn what lies within. By listening to the tones, they discover how stars are structured, how they live, and how they eventually die. Our own sun hums constantly. Its surface ripples with waves of energy, rolling like the sea. If we could hear it directly, the sound would be overwhelming, a deep, continuous roar. But filtered and softened, it becomes a steady, calming vibration, a heartbeat of our solar system. Planets, too, make noises. The giant planet Jupiter crackles with radio emissions created by its strong magnetic field. Saturn sings softly as well, its rings producing faint whispers. When particles collide, even Earth is not silent. The planet vibrates with seismic waves, the deep rumble of earthquakes, the crash of waves along its shores, the hiss of wind in its atmosphere. Much of this we cannot hear without instruments, but it is always there, a quiet background song that never ends. And then there are pulsars, spinning neutron stars, the remnants of collapsed giants. They beam out regular pulses of radio waves, like cosmic lighthouses. To us, when converted into sound, they tick like metronomes, precise, steady, some faster than a hummingbird's wings. Listening to a pulsar feels like hearing the heartbeat of the stars. Each of these cosmic voices reminds us that the universe is never empty. It is filled with rhythms, patterns, and songs waiting to be heard. As our technology grows, we are beginning to hear even more subtle cosmic noises. In recent years, scientists detected gravitational waves, tiny ripples in space-time itself, caused by massive objects colliding. When two black holes spiral together, they send out a final burst, a wave that stretches the very fabric of the universe. Converted into sound, it becomes a short, rising tone, a faint chirp in the silence of space. This discovery opened a new sense for us. For the first time, we could listen not just to light, not just to radio waves, but to the trembling of space-time itself, a new instrument, playing a deep, hidden melody. Cosmic rays, too, arrive constantly at Earth, invisible particles, streaming from distant explosions, striking our atmosphere. They do not sing in the way stars do, but they form a quiet rain, a steady background that whispers of violent origins far away. Even the magnetic fields of galaxies have their own murmurs. They guide particles, bend light, and create faint emissions that our instruments slowly unravel. When all of these are gathered together, the hiss of the cosmic microwave background, the hum of stars, the crackle of planets, the ticking of pulsars, the chirp of gravitational waves, they form a kind of symphony, a music beyond hearing, but no less real, to sit beneath the stars. And think of these hidden noises is to feel part of something vast. It is as though the universe is whispering constantly, not in words, not in songs we can hum, but in a language of energy, movement, and silence that is never truly silent. And so, the next time you gaze upward into the quiet night sky, remember that the stillness is an illusion. Above you, all around you, the cosmos hums gently, a lullaby as old as time itself. When we look out at the stars, we are struck by the silence of it all. The vast black canvas stretches outward without end, and we here on Earth feel like a fragile flicker of light in a sea of darkness. It is natural to wonder, what is our place in all of this? Are we a lonely spark, or one among countless others? From the beginning, humans have listened for echoes of life, for voices beyond our world. And yet, so far, the universe has replied only with quiet. This quiet can feel overwhelming, but perhaps it is not emptiness. Perhaps it is a space for us to reflect, to listen inwardly. Imagine walking into a great cathedral. The high ceilings, the long hallways, make even the smallest whisper sound grand and endless. In that vast stillness, your own breath feels like part of the sacred air. The universe works in much the same way. Its silence is not absence. It is an invitation, a backdrop against which our own voices gain meaning. Our tiny world, circling a modest star, is like a violin playing softly. In a great orchestra hall, perhaps others exist, other instruments yet unheard. But for now, we must listen to ourselves and play our part in the quiet. And in that role, we learn humility. The universe is not arranged for us. nor does it bend to our will. We are small, and yet, within the silence, our consciousness shines brightly. Being alone, or at least feeling alone, carries a responsibility. For we are not just inhabitants of this quiet universe. We are its listeners. Consider how rare it is for a planet to hold life, how delicate the balance must be, the right warmth, the right chemistry, the right shield against cosmic harm. And on this one fragile place, consciousness has bloomed, eyes to see the stars, ears to hear the wind, minds to wonder at the silence. It is a profound gift, because in all that we have studied, no other being seems to share it with us. At least, not yet. This makes us custodians of awareness, keepers of curiosity. If the universe is a grand stage, we may be the first to open our eyes and realize a performance has begun. Think of a lone lighthouse keeper watching the endless sea. Night after night, he tends a flame, knowing ships may never come, and yet he keeps the light alive because the possibility remains. We are that keeper, looking out at the cosmic sea. We send signals into the dark, radio waves and messages, golden records on distant spacecraft. We know the chances are slim, but we send them anyway, because to listen and to hope is part of what it means to be human. And so, our place in quiet is not just to wonder, it is to hold the silence with care, to honor it, and to answer it in the only way we know how, through our search, through our art, through the stories we tell, of stars and dreams. If the universe remains silent forever, if no voice ever calls back, what then? Perhaps the silence itself is an answer, a reminder that meaning does not have to come from beyond, that it can be made here, in the fragile circle of our own lives. In the quiet of night, we often find our deepest truths. When the noise of the world fades, we notice the beating of our own hearts. We notice the breath moving gently in and out. We notice that existence itself is already enough. The silence of the universe may serve the same role. It is a canvas upon which we paint meaning. It is a still pond that reflects back our questions. And what it shows us is this, that our awareness is precious, that kindness matters, that to love, to create, to explore, is itself an act of defiance against the cold quiet. In a way, the silence makes us greater. If the universe is filled with endless voices, we are just one among many. But if the universe is truly quiet, then we are the sound breaking through. We are the song that exists in an otherwise empty hall. And that, perhaps, is our true place in the cosmos, not to wait for others to speak, but to fill the silence ourselves with curiosity, with compassion, with wonder. So when you next gaze into the starry night, remember, the quiet is not a void. It is a gift, a space in which your life, your thoughts, your dreams can echo freely. And in that echo, the universe itself becomes alive. When we first spoke of the universe's silence, it may have seemed unsettling, an endless stillness, stretching outward into infinity. But as we have wandered through these reflections together, we have begun to see the silence differently, not as emptiness, but as presence, not as absence, but as a gift. Silence, in its deepest form, is not nothingness. It is a gentle holding space, a soft cushion for thought, for wonder, for peace. Think of a quiet forest. At first, you may notice the lack of voices, the absence of engines or chatter. But if you linger, you begin to notice more. The faint rustle of leaves, the far-off call of an owl, the rhythm of your own breath. What felt like silence becomes a living stillness. The universe offers us the same gift. Its quiet is vast, and in that vastness, we are given space to listen inwardly, to hear ourselves more clearly, to feel the miracle of being alive. If the universe were loud with voices, if the stars constantly shouted across space, perhaps we would feel drowned in noise. But instead, we are given a silence deep enough to hold all of our questions, all of our stories. This, then, is the first gift of stillness. It allows us to slow down, to breathe deeply, to rest, to feel the beating of our own hearts, in harmony with the quiet stars. Silence is not only a comfort, it is also a teacher. In the stillness of the universe, we learn patience, because answers do not come quickly. Signals take years, centuries, even millennia to travel. If there are voices, they are faint and far. So we wait, and in the waiting, we learn humility. Stillness also teaches perspective. When the world around us is noisy, filled with urgency and distraction, it is easy to forget that we are part of something vast. But when we look up at the night sky and feel the quiet stretching outward, we remember how small we are, and in that smallness, we find freedom. For if the universe does not rush, if the stars do not hurry, why must we? Stillness invites us to move gently, to let go of what does not matter, to hold close what does, and stillness teaches gratitude. In a silent universe, every sound we make, every word we speak, every song we sing is rare. It matters. The laughter of children, the whisper of lovers, the rustle of leaves in the wind, these are treasures because they exist against the backdrop of infinite quiet. The universe, in its stillness, gives us a mirror, and in that mirror, we see not emptiness, but meaning. And so, as we bring this gentle journey to a close, let us rest in the quiet together. The silence of the universe is not something to fear. It is a gift to embrace. It is a soft space in which our lives unfold. Think of it as a lullaby, sung not with words, but with stillness. A lullaby that stretches from star to star, wrapping our fragile world in calm. As you lie back now, perhaps already drifting into dreams, let the quiet of the cosmos wash over you. Let it carry away the weight of the day. Let it remind you that you are safe, that you are cherished, that you belong in this vast and silent universe. May the stillness bring you peace. May the quiet remind you of beauty. And may you always find rest in the gentle silence of the stars. Good night, dear listener. Good night, traveler beneath the sky. Good night, dreamer in the quiet of the universe. Sleep well, rest deeply, and until we meet again, goodbye.